There is nothing like the magic of the Masters. Even the great ones feel it forever.
Coming off the 18th green, winning a major championship, winning the Masters.
But can Masters magic wipe the slate clean for Tiger Woods this week at Augusta?
I don't think it erases all the troubles, but America loves a winner.
Plus, Magic Johnson wins the bidding for the Dodgers. So what's next? And a legend in sports management brings his magic touch to a new business.
This is much more of a business proposition for me, and maybe I've just grown up.
Let the magic begin on Sportfolio. Hello, I'm Rick Horrow, and welcome to Sportfolio, Bloomberg's weekly inside look at the business of sports. Congratulations to alumni and fans of the University of Kentucky on winning college basketball's national championship. We'll talk with John Ehrlichman of Bloomberg West about March Madness and social media. And was it madness to pay more than $2 billion for the LA Dodgers? We'll break down the big deal with Bloomberg's Scott Soshnick. But it's time to look ahead to the next big event on the sports calendar, the 76th Masters Tournament at Augusta National. And let's start by looking back at a moment that captures just how major this tournament really is. Jack Nicklaus won 73 times on the PGA Tour, but his final victory at the 86 Masters probably did more to cement his legend than any of the others. I recently asked Jack what stood out to him about the memory.
I think that it would have to be, to me, it was being with my son. Yeah. Being with Jackie, coming off the 18th green, winning a major championship, winning the Masters at really when I was too old to win the Masters. And you know, it was a great thrill just having him with me. That was by far the most important thing to me. The Masters was great, but that was more important to share that.
You make the turn at 9 and you think you have a chance and there is growing momentum and you hear all the cheers and everybody drops away. Were you personally focused on winning the tournament at that point, and were you especially aggressive or were you especially careful? What did you do differently that back 9, or were you Jack?
Rick, I made the putt at 9, which gave me a little bit of momentum. Then all of a sudden, lightning in a bottle happened at 10 and 11. And all of a sudden I said, you know, I moved up to leader. I was thinking of trying to get myself, I didn't think about winning, I tried to get myself in position to win. And then I bogeyed 12, which may have been the best thing that ever happened to me, but then I turned right around with a birdie at 13 and parred 14. And then at 15, I was sort of getting, I knew I was still 4 shots behind. I was like 5 under, and Ballesteros was like 9 under at the point. And I just said to Jackie, I said, how far do you think a 3 would go here? And I don't mean 3 iron, I mean into the green. And he said, I think it'll go a long way, Dad. And so I knocked it in, made 3. And all of a sudden, it's the first time I thought I found myself in a position to have a chance to win. And then, of course, I had the shot at 16, I made birdie at 17. And Ballesteros made his mistake at 15. And now I had to sit there and watch Norman and Kite finish up, and that was it. But it was exciting. It was me remembering who I was and how I used to play, and making sure that I didn't make any dumb mistakes to push myself out of it. I had to keep my composure, keep myself focused on what I was doing, and good things happened.
Nicklaus was 46 years old when he put on the green jacket in '86, and he hadn't won a major in nearly 6 years. Winning at Augusta in such dramatic fashion put an indelible stamp on his legacy. So if Tiger Woods wins his 5th Masters this week to end a drought of almost 4 years since his last major championship, it could also be a career-defining moment. Here with us to discuss the Masters is Mike Principe, CEO of the Legacy Agency, which handles marketing for a number of PGA golfers. Hey, Mike, first of all, is there anything that can give golfer a bigger boost in the marketplace than a Masters win?
You know, Rick, the Masters, that's the pinnacle. There's nothing better than that. Winning PGA Tour stops are great, but when you're on the biggest scene in golf and you take home that green jacket, there's nothing like it.
Yeah, quite clearly, and everybody understands that. But how much of the power comes from the fact that it's held at Augusta every year? It's on every golf fan's bucket list. Not to mention every sponsor, every business client, everybody I know wants to play it and go. What do you think?
It's the whole thing. I mean, it's all wrapped up into one package. I mean, the fact that it's kept at the same location year after year, it's hallowed ground for golfers. The tradition of it, the legacy of it, the players that have been there, I mean, presidents who play there, CEOs. It's a magnet, and it's one of these places that's just you feel it when you're there, and when you're playing, and if you win that goes beyond just winning a normal golf tournament. You're in the upper echelons of legends at that point.
The harder it is to get access to that facility, the more pervasive the brand, in my estimation. But let's talk about Tiger. His presence at any tournament obviously means more TV viewers, but each time he's won the Masters, Sunday ratings have gone through the roof. Coming off his Bay Hill win, if he's in contention the weekend, could we see a new record? We could. A lot of people are going to be watching Tiger now, for both good and bad. Some people like to watch people succeed. Other people like to watch people fail. And there's going to be some people who are going to watch him try to fail and see some of the younger folks, knock him off his game and see him have a misstep. But I think ratings are going to be real strong, with the resurgence of a Phil, with an emergence of the young guys like Rory, and if Tiger has a good couple rounds, ratings are going to just take off. Well, what you're saying is a win's going to be harder to come by, obviously, but does a win this weekend erase all the troubles of the last 2 years for Tiger? Does his brand return to full strength in your estimation? I
don't think it erases all the troubles, but America loves a winner, and it puts him back on the path if that's what he wants to do. I think his managers have done a good job of pulling him back out of the public marketplace, reducing his visibility from a sponsorship perspective. And, he wins, they're going to start gearing him back up again. I don't think it's going to be a 0 to 60, but they'll begin integrating him back into the public consciousness.
Now, your agency has 3 golfers in the tournament, so we're not expecting you to pick Tiger to win. But if he does, is this the best thing that could happen to the PGA Tour?
It's a great thing that could happen to the Tour. Look, a rising tide floats all boats, and if he wins here, it has that ripple effect at the other stops, because folks are going to come out to other tournaments in greater numbers. People are going to be watching more television to see if Tiger can repeat, and especially if he's able to develop another rivalry. If it's a Phil Tiger, a Rory Tiger. That's going to be very helpful in spiking golf. I mean, golf's cusping. If Tiger breaks through right now, it's going to be close to where it was 4 years ago or so.
Hey, Mike, we'd like you to stick around and talk some baseball with us. Coming up, the Dodgers brand has fallen on hard times, but it's still worth $2 billion to somebody. We'll discuss the biggest deal in professional sports history next on Sportfolio. Welcome back to Sportfolio. I'm Rick Horrow. Last week, the court-supervised sale of the Los Angeles Dodgers entered its final phase. A group led by Magic Johnson and Stan Kasten bid $2.15 billion for the franchise, the stadium, and surrounding real estate. Pending approval by the court in Major League Baseball, the deal will close at the end of April. Scott Soshnick's been covering the Dodgers bankruptcy proceedings for Bloomberg. Scott, the sale price is nearly 3 times what the Cubs sold for just 3 years ago. How did it get pushed so high?
Well, that's a great question. The main part is that the fact it was taken out of baseball hands. This was not a Bud Selig gets to pick who he wants to own the franchise. This was supervised by the bankruptcy court. So it really was a pre-approval process. And then once those bidders emerged as finalists, then you had the pressure of there's other guys in the room showing interest, so you better come with your best offer. And as you have said, that was Stan Kasten, Magic Johnson, and Mark Walter of the Guggenheim Partners. They came in at $2.1 billion, which nobody in the process foresaw a $2 billion number, except for perhaps, believe it or not, Frank McCourt. He called $2 billion a while ago, and he found somebody to pay it.
Well, the auction worked out really well for baseball because of the high number, but it worked out really well for Frank McCourt as well. He even gets to stay involved in the development of the parking lots. How's that going to work?
Well, he'll have no say. He will enjoy the financial benefits of any sort of development. He does not get parking rights, and they stress that. If they do something in the future to develop the site, then Frank will enjoy and share in the revenue from whatever is created. But Mark Walter went to great lengths to stress to Dodger fans, who, as you know, have had their fill of Frank McCourt and his ex-wife Jamie, that they do not share in parking revenue. So they don't want to give any sort of deterrence to fans returning to Dodger Stadium. As you know, attendance was on the decline last year, what the team calls an anomaly due to the divorce and the pending sale. People stayed away from Dodger Stadium, and they blame most of it on Frank.
Rumor has it he gets a parking space with McCourt on it, so any McCourt can park on it. Just kidding. Let's look at the L.A. media landscape, though. Fox just signed a $3 billion deal with the Angels. Their Dodgers rights are up after 2013. But meanwhile, Time Warner launched a competing regional sports network. Will Time Warner and Fox pay any price to keep the other one from getting the Dodgers?
I don't know about any price, but certainly Fox will be desperate to keep the Dodgers. As you said, they lost programming in the Lakers. Their prime ticket will be shut down most likely without any sort of core programming like the Dodgers. It's 162 games. That's not only the games, but the shoulder programming that goes around it. They are desperate to keep the Dodgers, and let's not forget, they had the Dodgers. It was News Corp that sold the team for $400+ million to Frank McCourt in the first place. They had done much better had they just held on to the team, but they didn't foresee the escalation, the skyrocketing escalation of media rights, particularly in Southern California, where not only the Angels have a new deal, but the Padres have a $1 billion deal as well. So you've got two titans who are desperate for programming. Part of the reason why Magic and his group paid as much as they did, because they are going to get the ones who get to sell those media rights.
Let's bring back Mike Principe from the Legacy Group. Hey, Mike, your agency has a robust baseball business. Obviously going to be hard for the Dodgers to rebound in the marketplace. How hard will it be after the McCourt mismanagement?
Well, Scott nailed it. The first thing that the new management has to do is just, re-engage the fans. You've got to have a fan day. You've got to bring folks into the stadium. Now, keeping in mind when you're looking at the Dodger brand, yes, last year was an anomaly. I think they had about 65% capacity. That still translated to about 2.9 million, seats sold. There is a big following. The Dodger fans are waiting for this to happen. I think they may be a little bit put off that McCourt might have trousered about, $800 to $1 billion himself personally. But the Magic Guggenheim guys, they've got to get out in front of this, get out and re-engage the fans and bring them back to Dodger Stadium. And they will come. They will come.
So if you were advising Stan Kasten and Magic Johnson, how would you tell them to start rebuilding that brand?
Well, a couple things. One, you've got to make some improvements to the stadium. It needs some freshening up, some sprucing up. You need to have fan-friendly events, and we're not talking dollar beers and dogs. Really engage the community. Have town hall events. Do big, massive PR campaigns where you're putting up billboards, where you're linking the Dodger blue to the community. You've got to create that nexus again. And it has to be real. It can't be hokey, because Dodger fans will see right through it. It's got to be a real visceral connection.
Well, and I think the sprucing up may be a major renovation when it comes to Dodger Stadium. We'll just have to see how that deploys. Scott, back to you. What's the next big development we should look for in this sale? Are there any potential speed bumps in the road?
Probably unlikely from the bankruptcy court. The plan will be submitted and has to be signed off. But as long as the creditors are made whole, and with this number, they are more than made whole, probably very few objections on that side. So now it's just an approval process from the court. And once that stamp of approval is given, then we will see the transfer of ownership and all the things we just heard from Mike. We'll see what they implement as the new owners of the Dodgers.
I think at $2.15 billion, all parties want to get this done as quickly as absolutely possible. You can follow Scott Soshnick's reporting on this story at Bloomberg.com. Scott, Mike, thanks for joining us on Sportfolio.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Now here's this week's Sportfolio Stumper. Dodger Stadium turns 50 this year, and it's one of just 3 privately financed Major League parks built between 1923 and 2000. Can you name the other 2? Answer coming up. The answer to this week's Stumper: the other 2 stadiums built entirely with private financing were Yankee Stadium in 1923 and AT&T Park in San Francisco in 2000. The financials on this year's March Madness won't be totaled up for a while, but in all probability, the 2012 NCAA tournament will set new records for ratings and revenue. So when TV ads sell out, when arenas fill up, where's the growth potential? Social media, of course, and joining us from San Francisco to discuss March Madness as a social media phenomenon is Bloomberg West reporter John Ehrlichman. Hey, John, before we talk tech business, I have to ask you, did your brackets do as badly as everybody else's?
Look, I'm just an average Joe with a March Madness dream like anybody else. I was excited, and Jeremy Lin and the Harvard connection. I went Harvard. I'm a Carmelo guy. I went Syracuse. But look, that's the fun of this, isn't it? And, you know, when you talk about social media and we talk about the valuations of companies like Facebook and Twitter, two local companies out here that do have these skyrocketing valuations, it's these kinds of events when people start to say, oh, that's why they're worth so much. I mean, it's taking that water cooler conversation and keeping it going online, especially key in this kind of sporting event, which is taking place over a period of time, and being able to help the advertisers go between the big night games and that time when people are talking in the offices.
Yeah, well, and the virtual water cooler conversation, social media. It seemed like the tournament was a perfect match for social media products and marketing. It reaches a passionate, educated, young demographic. Is there a buzz among the companies you cover to make the most of March Madness as it's out there?
I think there is pressure on these companies to show that, and not just Facebook and Twitter. There's all sorts of companies that are trying to be the go-between between, say, your tablet device and the television. You know, we spoke with one of the mobile heads at ESPN recently, and he used a stat that I've heard a lot recently, which is that when people are watching television or tablet users, about half of the tablet-using audience are also using that device when they're watching television. And I think this is the kind of thing that makes sense to everybody, especially the big media brands that, you know, I don't have to tell you are spending as much as they are for the rights to games, in this case, the March Madness games, and then going to advertisers and charging them in the neighborhood of whatever it was, $1 million plus for 30-second spots, and then those advertisers wondering, is this really the best use of my money? Well, if there's a way for those advertisers to be told that, look, it's not just for those eyeballs, the people watching the games live, it's people interacting online during those games, which almost makes your buck go that much further. And that's what seems to be why there's all sorts of intermediaries right now that are being born, really, to try and make that a reality and to try to justify some of the big price tags on all these sporting events.
And John, look how incredibly prolific those numbers really are. One study of social media tracked 2.46 million tweets the tournament's opening weekend and found the upsets generate the most traffic. It's got to be good news for schools like Norfolk State and Lehigh that you can't literally buy that kind of exposure. Don't you agree?
You know, absolutely, and the Lehigh numbers are they're amazing. I mean, their web traffic, I think, was up something like 500% over the course of the tournament. Justin Bieber tweeted about Lehigh. I mean, like that's cash in your hand. Their Twitter and their Facebook audiences grew in the neighborhood of 8 and 9% over the course of the tournament. So immediately, this is a school that has 10% higher audiences in social media. And what do you do with that? I think this is where the schools have to be careful. Lehigh was fairly savvy in that during games, you would have seen that they were tweeting a lot and tweeting about what their school was all about, or at least what they wanted the world to see as the message about what their school is all about. And I don't think that's very different than some of the big brands out there and how they're tackling social media. I mean, when you look at companies like Coke and American Express and how they approach Facebook right now, it's not to sell one can of Coke or get somebody to use one more American Express card. They're really focused on building these relationships forever. They want you to be a lover of Coke forever. And I think schools fall into the same boat, especially if you're a school like Lehigh. Build on the buzz, and then where do you go from there? You try to develop that relationship by getting your message out as quickly as you can.
The numbers are incrementally incomprehensible and getting bigger. John Ehrlichman from Bloomberg West. You can watch him on TV, and of course you can follow him on Twitter. Thanks for being with us on Sportfolio. Still ahead, a new challenge for one of sports' most accomplished executives. We'll check in with Dave Checketts coming up on Sportfolio. Get Sportfolio wherever you go on the Bloomberg TV Plus app for iPad. Next week on the program, in his new book, Illegal Procedure, former agent Josh Lux admits he paid college football players. He broke the rules, and now he has ideas on how to fix the system. Join us on Sportfolio. Dave Checketts began his career in sports nearly 30 years ago as president and general manager of the Utah Jazz. He was only 28 years old. Since then, he's run the New York Knicks and Madison Square Garden. He's owned Real Salt Lake of MLS and the NHL St. Louis Blues. In January, he added a new line to his resume as chairman and CEO of Legends Hospitality Management. It's not just a new job for Checketts, it's a new direction.
This is much more of a business proposition for me, and maybe I've just grown up. You know, I had all those years in the NBA. I've now been in the NHL and Major League Soccer, but now I'm building a company, and it's a company that has a great heritage, even though it's only 3 years old. It's really a platform that is built on food and beverage business, a premium seat sales business, and even a feasibility research business. But those are just a portfolio of businesses that allow us to grow.
You could hardly build on two better sports brands than the Yankees and the Cowboys, who launched Legends with an illustrious third partner, Goldman Sachs.
Jerry Cardinal is one of the more creative sports bankers there is. And Jerry was the mastermind behind the Yes Network, and now he's the guy who came up with the Legends opportunity as well. So Goldman is, obviously, they're a financial partner, investor, and a very creative group of people that are helping us identify growth opportunities and fund them.
Legends is bringing its premium brand of service to sales of premium inventory for the San Francisco 49ers' new stadium.
They're dealing with all of the San Francisco 49er season ticket holders, suite holders, and others who have been fans for years and years. They now come out and get a sales experience, which includes you know, a tour of the site, a sales center that helps you understand what the views will look like from any seat in the stadium, using technology to do that. For the team owner, it's a huge advantage because he gets all of this premium inventory sold before he even starts construction, thereby helping him finance his project. And for the fans, it's a huge advantage because they know that they have reserved their seat in the new stadium and are safe to continue their passion about the 49ers.
Leading a venture for the Yankees, Cowboys, and Goldman would put any executive in a considerable spotlight, but Checketts relishes the chance to shine.
It's just a huge opportunity. This will not be the first time in my career that I've worked for demanding owners, and so I'm used to that. But I'm an owner myself. I bought 20% of the company, and I'm very anxious to see the company succeed. So it's really, there's four shareholders: the Cowboys, the Yankees, Goldman, and us, and my own fund, my own investors. So this provides an opportunity for us with great partners to do some very significant things.
Under Dave Checketts' leadership, Legends is thinking big and thinking global. One of his goals for the company is to take its platform worldwide. He told us he's been discussing partnerships with AEG and other developers to expand internationally. Well, that's it for this edition of Sportfolio. Our thanks to Dave Checketts, Mike Principe, Scott Soshnick, John Ehrlichman, and of course, the great Jack Nicklaus for being on the show. And thank you for watching. Visit our webpage at Bloomberg.com for more sports coverage and bonus Sportfolio content. I'm Rick Horrow. See you next time.